Yo, what's good, girl? 413 here, back in the day, and today, guys, we are here because Johnny Wanna has gone ahead and released the brand new clue thread for the brand new car pack coming to Forza Motorsport 7 this upcoming Tuesday, and I am so excited to go ahead and go through this clue thread today and kind of get my guesses out there. Anyway, though, leave a comment down below, let me know what your guys' guesses are for these following clues, and let's go ahead and hop on into it. So to start things off with clue number 1, what we have is we have better than coffee and rolls with butter and jam. Now, guys, when I was sitting here thinking about this clue, I'm like, okay, is BCRBJ, does that mean something? That's, you know, an acronym for better coffee, rolls, butter, jam? And I'm like, man, what on earth could this be? And after going through the forums a little bit, some people were saying that, you know, this is actually a traditional French breakfast, so maybe we're going to be getting a French car, and my guess in that aspect would be maybe, you know, like the 2018 Renault Alpine A110, which that would be an amazing car to get, and in fact, we need that car in Forza Motorsport 7, as that thing is going to be a beast of a car to actually have in the game. But then as well, somebody went ahead and mentioned that this is also known as a continental breakfast. Now, every time that I've had a continental breakfast, it's been at like a hotel or something like that, and they got eggs, sausage, and all that good stuff, and I'm like, I've never heard of this as a continental breakfast, but apparently this is literally the definition of a continental breakfast. If you go ahead and look it up on Google, like, what is a continental breakfast, it will literally say coffee, rolls, butter, and jam. I mean, that is exactly what it is. So thinking about the fact that this is a continental breakfast leads me to believe that maybe we're going to be getting another Bentley Continental, like maybe there's some updates done on the brand new 2018 Continental, or maybe we'll get a Continental Flying Spur, or maybe even a Lincoln Continental, because if we get that Lincoln Continental concept that came out a couple years ago, that would be so dope. But I don't know if we're actually going to get that. I think we might end up getting like maybe either an old school Continental or maybe even one of the newer ones, as they really have improved rather significantly. So next up, what we have with clue number 2 is we have people walk here for fun, but it is more fun to drive. Now, the first time I was looking at this, I'm like, walk here for fun. Are we getting a location? Are we getting like a new track or something like that? Or is this car going to be named after a certain location or track? And at first, I actually started thinking like, you know, okay, it's going to be a track with a walking trail in it. And I started thinking like Okonichi track or something like that, which is an oval dirt track that was used in NASCAR way back in the day. It's since closed. And I'm like, no, Forza's not that smart. They're not going to give us a dirt track. Plus, this is a car pack, not a track pack. So it has to be some kind of car. And luckily, there is a location that is known for a walking trail and also known for being an amazing driving road. And this is the Stelvio Pass. So the Stelvio Pass, at the very top of it, there is actually a walking trail that goes kind of right across it. So I'm almost thinking that maybe we're going to be receiving the Alfa Romeo Stelvio, because you guys already know this is a car pack made by Forza, and there's going to be an SUV of some kind. There's probably going to be 2 SUVs, and I'll get to the other one here in a little bit. But man, I think that's what we're going to end up getting, and I'm actually kind of happy about this SUV. I know some of you guys out there are going to be like, "Grr, it's another SUV, we don't need it." But it's still an Alpha. It is still an Alpha, guys. But there is another option. There is another option, because that walking trail at the Stelvio Pass is also known as the Via Alpina. And if you guys are familiar with like modifiers and tuners, then you guys will know that Alpina is a tuner for BMW cars. So I'm almost thinking as well that we could be receiving the BMW Alpina B7, which of course would be an amazing addition to this game and well appreciated. Honestly, it would be so cool to have a B7. Because we don't really get to drive that, and we don't really have like an M7 in the game. I don't think so. And this is the closest thing that we're going to get to an M7 in Forza Motorsport 7 probably. So clue number 3 was a little bit tricky, and it reads, you may go even faster if you hit the brakes without knowing what you are doing. So I started thinking like, okay, is there any car out there that, you know, has the brake pedal and the gas pedal on opposite sides of each other? And of course, I couldn't find anything about that. Some people were suggesting, you know, maybe it's an old car that, you know, really didn't have the whole pedal deal situated out. But what it turns out, though, is I think this car is going to be relatively modern, and I believe it is actually going to be an electric vehicle. because it turns out with electric vehicles there's something referred to as regenerative braking, which means that when you go ahead and brake, the car takes some of that kinetic energy that is being produced from the car braking and puts it back into the battery so you can increase your overall range. And as well, along with this, there is something referred to as one-pedal driving with electric vehicles, where essentially one pedal acts as both the gas and the brake, but then you have a more permanent brake, which is for coming to a complete stop. So I started looking into this and I'm like, okay, this is kind of an interesting concept, and it was actually originally invented along with the Tesla Model Roadster. Although it wasn't really originally invented, it was originally made popular by the Tesla Roadster, and this is the old school Roadster, guys. It's not the new school Roadster, because that would be really cool to have in the game as well, but the original Tesla Roadster is also an amazing car that we currently don't have in the game and really should be in a racing game. It's a race car basically based on the Exige. Why don't we have it already here? I mean, that's one thing, and I honestly would be really excited also to get the new Tesla Roadster, which I'm sure also has this feature, or even the Tesla Model X, which also has this feature. But unfortunately, I do not believe we are going to be getting a Tesla. Unfortunately, we're probably going to be getting a Nissan Leaf. Because, no guys, you guys are probably sitting there laughing at me like, why do you think on earth we are going to be getting a Nissan Leaf? Why is Forza so cruel? Well, it's because there is a system on the Nissan Leaf called the E-pedal. And this is very similar to what I was talking about with that one pedal driving, but instead what it is that you can actually come to a complete stop by just taking your foot off the gas. So it's actually more like, you know, it's kind of like a gas pedal, but the engine is always running. So it's kind of very bizarre in this aspect. Like, you push down on the gas pedal and you accelerate, but as you pull off the gas pedal, it's like you took your foot off the gas pedal and are coasting and are slowly applying pressure to the brake. It's very interesting, and honestly, this system has been being used on bulldozers for years, guys. I know that some of you guys are going to probably start guessing here, but I had a summer internship, and they put me on a bulldozer for a little while. And it was so weird to do this, but basically, on a bulldozer, they have a brake pedal, and the engine is always running, and you basically press down on the brake or lift off the brake in order to actually move and do all the things that you need to do. So it's kind of interesting that basically Nissan is taking technology that was being used in bulldozers for the last 90 years and saying, it's a new feature. Good job, Nissan. So up next with clue number 4, it says, it may have done no better than 4th place, but it led the way to a return to victory. And the car that I believe this is I believe it is the Brabham BT45. As I could only really find one other car that was able to go ahead and place only 4th in its life cycle, which was the Aston Martin AMR1. But the thing is, though, is that car never really led to a return to victory, because with the AMR1, what happened is, you know, they set 4th place, and then the next season they were basically disqualified, and the season after that they were disqualified to additional rule changes, and then they just stopped racing Aston Martins until 2005, where the DBR9, its successor, went ahead and was able to actually win the Sebring 12 Hours. But the Brabham BT45 is very, very special, as this is the predecessor to the all-loving fan car. I know, guys, it's such a play on words there. But the fan car, guys, is essentially a car that was using ground effects by putting a massive fan on the back of a car, which is just crazy to think about. Like, who's going to think, huh, you know what we could do? We can't have turbo engines or anything like that, but why don't we put a giant fan on the back of this car, and it's definitely going to work out for us. And it was perfectly legal. But the Brabham BT45 only placed 4th place in 1976, and in the 1978 season they introduced the BT46 and the BT46B fan car, and these cars both went on to produce many, many wins throughout its life cycle, and that is why I believe that this car is going to be the Brabham BT45. So for clue number 5, what we have is show me a good loser and I will show you a loser. And this quote has been attributed to many individuals throughout history. There was Leo DeRocher, who was a baseball player, Vince Lombardi, the professional football player, Paul Newman, and as well, there's Cam Newton. I don't understand the Cam Newton one, but Paul Newman is the one that we want to pay attention to here, because Paul Newman is an actor and has played parts in many, many movies, and one of the movies that he played a part in was cars. And of course, this is a whole thing about a car pack. So what voice did Paul Newman do in Cars? Well, it was none other than Doc Hudson, which leads me to believe that the car that we're going to be getting for clue number 5 is going to be the Hudson Hornet, which has been in many other Forza games. And it kind of sucks that it wasn't in Motorsport 7 from the beginning. It is a fantastic looking car. You know, it's a car that I'm not really going to miss, but I know there are many people out there who are absolutely in love with the Hudson Hornet. In fact, I looked into, you know, how much one would cost way back in the day when they first announced it coming into Forza, period. And I was just like, you know, this car is really gorgeous, and I could see this, you know, making like a really cool hot rodder in the future. In fact, it already is used as a hot rodder rather significantly. But honestly, I kind of wish Forza would have just had this car in the game from the beginning. They've already had all the data and all the information they need for this car. It's just not there. It is just not there. But I think that's what we're going to be getting for clue number 5. Let's go ahead and move on to clue number 6, which is love him or hate him, he has accomplished what few have done in racing. Now, my guess is kind of different from many other people's. A lot of people have been saying that this is actually going to be Michael Schumacher because a lot of people really hate him. But also a lot of people really love him, and they're thinking it's going to be a Michael Schumacher F1 car. But the car that I think it's actually going to be is I think we're going to get the McLaren Senna. Because Senna is named after, of course, the famous racing driver Ayrton Senna. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, guys. Who knows, maybe I got it right. And I just really want the McLaren Senna to be coming into Forza Motorsport 7. Because back in the late 80s, early 90s, Senna, you know, he was racing around in F1, and he actually was able to pull off 3 F1 World Championships, which only a few other people have done, such as Michael Schumacher, Lewis Hamilton, and Vettel. I mean, these guys, you know, they all had more wins than Senna did, but it is still something that few racing drivers have ever done throughout history. Just only a handful of people have ever been able to do this, and that's why I believe that the car we're going to be getting is the McLaren Senna. So finally, for clue number 7, what we have is we have what turns your crank, turbos, supercharging, electrics? I believe I know exactly what car this is going to be. I know exactly what it's going to be, especially knowing Forza. This is going to be the SUV version of this car, as there is a wagon and a sedan, but just knowing Forza, it is going to be the SUV, and it's going to be the Volvo XC90, which is still a really good SUV, and a lot of people are going to love to see it come into the game. It's extremely popular, it's relatively quick, it's a fun SUV to actually drive. But again, it is another SUV, and we don't have really anywhere in Motorsport 7 to really set this thing to its limits. So, why do I think it's going to be this car? Well, because it is a plug-in hybrid with electric motors assisting in the power. It also has a supercharger and a turbocharger. And of course, it's an SUV, and it would not be a Forza DLC without an SUV. However, though, there is another possibility. There is one other possibility, and this will really determine how amazing Forza is. Because if they put this car in, we are in for one hell of a treat. And it could be the 2010 Jaguar CX-75 concept. And the reason why I'm saying this is because this car, when it was to be released, was going to feature 2 electric motors, one on each axle, a supercharger and a turbocharger, putting out a massive amount of horsepower and costing somewhere in the $1 million range. However, though, this car was never actually produced, because when they were saying that they were going to produce it, they sort of hit like a little mini recession, and Jaguar kind of looked at themselves and said, what company would we be to be releasing a $1 million supercar in the middle of a recession? And how I say is, you would be a company. If you would have released this car, honestly, we could have been talking about the holy quadruplet, the Jaguar CX-75, the LaFerrari, the McLaren P1, and, oh god, the Porsche 918. I almost forgot 918. That would have really pissed some people off. But I mean, this could have been the Holy Quartet instead of the Holy Trinity. I mean, it would have been amazing. Amazing to see this car come into the game. So anyway, though, that is where I'm going to go and wrap it up for today. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think each one of these clues is going to be, as I'm curious to hear what you guys have to think. As well, if you guys want to, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at twitter.com/GurfOne13 and Instagram.com/GurfOne13. And if you like this video, go ahead and make sure to hit that like button down below for us, because you guys already know your support is so greatly appreciated. And make sure to subscribe for more videos coming out all the time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out.